The power of your mind, the true secret of success, the greatest power you will ever control is not money, not position, not talent. It is your mind. Everything you see in your life today was once an invisible thought. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing succeeds by chance. Your mind is the factory where realities are built, dismantled, and rebuilt again. If your life is not where you want it to be, do not look outside. Look inward. The world does not reward wishes. It rewards decisions, and every decision is born in the mind. Most people live mentally defeated long before life ever defeats them. They think in limits, speak in doubt, and act in hesitation. Then they wonder why success feels distant. The truth is simple. A confused mind produces a confused life. A focused mind produces power. When you fix your mind on a clear purpose, something extraordinary happens. Your thoughts align. Your actions sharpen. Your energy stops leaking into distractions. Definiteness of purpose turns ordinary effort into unstoppable momentum. Without it, even talent becomes useless. Your mind does not respond to logic. It responds to belief, not shallow belief, not emotional hope, but belief repeated daily until it becomes identity. What you repeatedly tell yourself, your mind accepts as truth. And once accepted, it works day and night to make it real. The subconscious mind is always listening. It does not judge. It does not argue. It simply obeys. Feed it fear, and it manufactures failure. Feed it confidence, and it engineers opportunity. You are programming yourself every single day, whether consciously or unconsciously. Understand this clearly. Fear is not natural. Fear is learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. Confidence is not inherited. It is trained through disciplined thinking and decisive action. The moment you act despite fear, fear begins to lose authority over you. Persistence is not about force. It is about mental endurance. Most people quit not because they fail, but because they think they are failing. The mind interprets temporary setbacks as permanent defeat. The disciplined mind interprets them as feedback. Those who succeed simply refuse to mentally retreat. Your environment does not control you. Your past does not imprison you. Your circumstances do not define you. Your dominant thoughts do. Change the thought, and the direction of your life changes with it. Every achievement you admire followed the same invisible law. A thought held long enough, backed by belief, strengthened by action, and protected by persistence. Success is never sudden. It is the visible result of invisible discipline. Stop waiting for motivation. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Act with decision, and your mind will follow. Hesitate, and your mind will sabotage you with doubt. From this moment forward, guard your thoughts. Speak only what strengthens you. Think only what moves you forward. Decide what you want, and refuse to mentally negotiate with failure, because the ultimate truth is this: you do not rise to the level of your dreams. You fall or rise to the level of your thinking. Master your mind, and success will no longer be a possibility. It will become inevitable. Your mind is the command center of your destiny, the unseen headquarters where every decision is issued, every habit is approved, and every outcome is silently authorized before it ever appears in your life. Nothing moves forward without passing through this command center first. No success arrives uninvited. No failure appears unannounced. Long before results show up in the physical world, they are signed, stamped, and released by the thoughts you repeatedly allow to live in your mind. This is not philosophy. This is law. The world you are experiencing right now is not happening to you. It is responding to you. Your circumstances are not powerful. Your thinking is. What you consistently focus on, you give orders to your subconscious to create. The mind does not argue, negotiate, or question. It executes. If your thoughts are scattered, your life will be scattered. If your thoughts are disciplined, your life will begin to move with precision. Most people never take control of this command center. They allow outside voices to issue instructions. Fear speaks, doubt speaks, past failure speaks, and the mind obeys. Then they wonder why progress feels heavy, slow, or impossible. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. A mind without direction will always be used against its owner. Power does not come from having a mind. It comes from governing it. When you give your mind a definite purpose, everything changes. Energy that was once wasted becomes focused. Effort that was once random becomes strategic. A clear purpose acts like a magnetic force, pulling the right actions, ideas, and opportunities into alignment. Without this clarity, talent drifts. With it, even ordinary ability becomes extraordinary. The mind must know exactly what it is working toward, or it will default to comfort and fear. Belief is the fuel that activates the system. Not wishful belief, not emotional excitement, but deliberate belief repeated until it becomes identity. The mind accepts what you consistently tell it with emotion and repetition. Say something long enough, and it stops being a thought and starts being a command. This is why careless self-talk destroys potential and disciplined inner dialogue builds empires. The subconscious mind works day and night. It does not sleep. It does not rest. It is either constructing or sabotaging your future based on the instructions it receives. Every image you hold, every phrase you repeat, every expectation you accept becomes a blueprint. If the blueprint is weak, the structure collapses. If the blueprint is strong, the structure stands under pressure. Fear has no power of its own. It survives only through permission. It is taught, reinforced, and protected by repetition. Confidence is built the same way. The difference is choice. The moment you act despite fear, you issue a new command to your mind. You teach it that fear is not authority. Each decisive action rewrites the program. Over time, courage becomes automatic. Persistence is mental loyalty to your purpose. Most people quit mentally long before they stop physically. The mind convinces them that effort is pointless, that resistance means defeat, that delay means denial. The disciplined mind understands that resistance is evidence of growth. Temporary defeat is not failure unless accepted as final. Those who succeed simply refuse to give their mind permission to retreat. Your environment is a reflection, not a controller. Change the thinker, and the surroundings eventually follow. Blame weakens the mind. Responsibility strengthens it. The moment you accept full responsibility for your thoughts, you reclaim power over your direction. No one can stop a mind that has decided, committed, and aligned itself with action. Every great achievement followed the same invisible process. A thought became an obsession. The obsession became belief. Belief demanded action. Action repeated itself until momentum formed. Momentum carried the individual past doubt, past criticism, past temporary failure. Nothing mystical, nothing accidental. Just disciplined thinking sustained over time. The mind responds to movement. Waiting weakens it. Decisive action strengthens it. Do not wait to feel ready. Readiness is created through action. Motion creates clarity. Action sharpens belief. Hesitation invites doubt, and doubt multiplies when left unchallenged. Guard your mental environment as fiercely as you would guard your life, because it is your life. What you allow into your mind today determines where you will stand tomorrow. Speak strength internally even when conditions are loud. Think direction even when circumstances are unclear. Decide and then refuse to mentally revisit the decision with fear. You are not limited by the world. You are limited only by the instructions you give your mind. Take control of the command center. Issue clear orders. Repeat them with conviction. Act in alignment with them daily. When the mind is mastered, success stops being something you chase. It becomes something you generate. Definiteness of purpose separates the powerful from the average because clarity creates force, and force creates movement in a world where hesitation keeps most people standing still. The powerful are not necessarily more intelligent, more talented, or more fortunate. They are simply more decided. Their minds are not scattered across endless possibilities. They are locked onto one direction with unwavering commitment. While the average person drifts between desires, the powerful person advances toward a single aim with intensity and resolve. A mind without a clear purpose becomes a playground for distraction. It reacts instead of commands. It chases instead of leads. When purpose is undefined, effort is diluted, and energy leaks in all directions. This is why so many people work hard yet go nowhere. Activity without direction produces exhaustion, not achievement. Purpose concentrates effort, turning ordinary actions into meaningful progress. When purpose is definite, decisions become easier. Doubt loses its grip because the destination is clear. The mind no longer wastes time negotiating with fear or debating every step. It moves forward because it knows where it is going. Certainty sharpens judgment and strengthens discipline. The individual stops asking whether something is possible and starts asking what must be done next. The average person waits for clarity before acting. The powerful create clarity through decision. They choose a direction and commit fully, understanding that refinement comes through movement. Purpose does not require perfection. It requires loyalty. Once the mind commits, it begins to organize resources, attract ideas, and recognize opportunities that were previously invisible. Definiteness of purpose awakens the subconscious mind. It gives the inner intelligence a target. Without a target, the subconscious wanders. With one, it becomes an ally, working silently to solve problems and guide action. This inner cooperation is the unseen advantage of the focused individual. While others struggle consciously, the purposeful mind receives solutions intuitively. Obstacles appear differently to those with clear purpose. To the average mind, obstacles are signals to stop. To the powerful mind, they are instructions to adapt. Purpose transforms resistance into feedback. Each challenge refines strategy instead of weakening resolve. This is why those with purpose grow stronger under pressure, while others retreat. A definite purpose also builds confidence. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it is the presence of direction. Fear thrives in uncertainty. When the path is clear, fear loses authority. Even when outcomes are unknown, the commitment to move forward overrides hesitation. Action reinforces belief, and belief strengthens identity. The world responds differently to a person who knows where they are going. Such a person speaks with certainty, moves with intention, and acts with consistency. This energy is felt. Opportunities align, support appears, resistance diminishes, not because the world is generous, but because clarity commands respect and attracts alignment. Average thinking is reactive. It waits for conditions to improve. Powerful thinking is directive. It improves conditions through action. Purpose eliminates the habit of excuse-making and replaces it with problem-solving. Time stops being wasted on comparison and complaint and is invested in execution. Definiteness of purpose demands sacrifice. It requires saying no to distractions that promise comfort but deliver stagnation. The powerful understand that focus requires exclusion. They willingly abandon what does not serve the main objective. This discipline is what separates those who advance from those who remain busy but unfulfilled. Purpose also sustains persistence. When motivation fades, purpose remains. Emotion fluctuates, but commitment endures. The average person relies on mood. The powerful rely on mission. This is why they continue when progress is slow and results are delayed. They are not chasing immediate reward. They are fulfilling a chosen direction. Clarity of purpose transforms time into an ally. Every day becomes a step forward instead of a cycle of repetition. Even setbacks contribute to growth because they are measured against a clear goal. Nothing is wasted when the destination is known. Those who lack purpose seek approval. Those with purpose seek progress. They are not distracted by criticism or praise because their attention is fixed on execution. Their confidence comes from alignment, not validation. Definiteness of purpose is not a trait reserved for the few. It is a decision available to all. The moment a person chooses a direction and commits fully, the separation begins. From that moment on, the powerful move forward while the average remain undecided, watching opportunities pass, wondering why life feels stagnant. The difference is never chance. It is always clarity. Belief is not hope. Belief is a decision repeated until it hardens into reality, forged through discipline, reinforced by action, and protected from doubt by unwavering commitment. Hope wait. S for permission. Belief gives orders. Hope wishes for change. Belief demands it. The difference between those who advance and those who remain stuck is not circumstance, intelligence, or luck, but the firmness of the belief they choose to live by every single day. Most people confuse belief with emotion. They think belief is something you feel when conditions are favorable. In truth, belief is something you practice when conditions are hostile. It is a conscious choice made in the absence of proof, sustained through resistance, and strengthened by repetition. The mind accepts what it hears often and with conviction. When a thought is repeated consistently, it stops being questioned and starts being obeyed. A decision becomes belief only when it is defended. The moment you decide who you are and what you are committed to, the mind tests that decision. Doubt appears. Fear speaks. Old habits resurface. This is not failure. This is confirmation that the mind is being reprogrammed. Every time you reaffirm the decision despite discomfort, belief grows stronger. Over time, resistance fades and certainty replaces struggle. Belief shapes perception. You do not see the world as it is. You see it as your belief system allows. Two people can face the same obstacle, yet one sees limitation while the other sees opportunity. The difference is not intelligence, but expectation. What you expect, you prepare for. What you prepare for, you recognize. What you recognize, you act on. Belief quae T-lie guides attention and behavior long before results appear. The subconscious mind responds to repetition and emotion. When belief is repeated with intensity, it embeds itself deeply. Once embedded, it influences choices automatically. Action becomes natural instead of forced. Confidence emerges not as arrogance, but as calm certainty. This is why those with strong belief appear composed under pressure. Their mind has already accepted the outcome as possible. Belief does not eliminate fear, it overrides it. Fear is a signal of uncertainty, not a command to stop. When belief is weak, fear dominates. When belief is strong, fear becomes irrelevant. The individual moves forward not because fear is absent, but because belief is louder. Each act of courage reinforces the belief, and each reinforcement strengthens identity. Reality begins to shift when belief is paired with consistent action. Thought alone does nothing. Action without belief collapses under pressure. Together they form momentum. Small actions performed consistently under a strong belief system compound into undeniable results. This is how the impossible becomes familiar and the extraordinary becomes expected. Many abandon belief too early. They decide once and doubt 100 times. Repetition works both ways. Doubt repeated becomes certainty of failure. Belief repeated becomes certainty of success. The mind does not differentiate between constructive and destructive commands. It simply follows the most dominant instruction. This is why internal dialogue matters more than external motivation. Belief also governs persistence. When results are delayed, belief determines whether effort continues or stops. Those who truly believe do not measure progress by speed, but by direction. They understand that delay is not denial and that growth often occurs invisibly before it becomes visible. This patience is not passive, it is confident endurance. As belief hardens, identity changes. You no longer try to succeed, you act as someone who expects success. This shift is subtle but powerful. Decisions align naturally, standards rise, excuses lose credibility. The mind begins to reject behaviors that contradict the belief, creating self-discipline without force. The world responds to belief expressed through action. Confidence attracts cooperation. Certainty commands attention, not because belief manipulates others, but because clarity of intent is rare and compelling. Those who know what they stand for move differently, speak differently, and influence their environment without effort. Belief must be guarded. Negativity, comparison, and distraction weaken it. The disciplined mind limits exposure to ideas that contradict its chosen direction. This is not ignorance, it is strategic focus. Just as a seed needs protection while it grows, belief requires mental discipline until it becomes unshakable. Belief is not granted by success. Success is granted by belief. It begins as a fragile decision and ends as a hardened reality. What you repeatedly decide to believe about yourself and your future becomes the foundation upon which your life is built. When belief is chosen daily, defended consistently, and reinforced through action, reality has no option but to follow. The subconscious mind obeys repetition, emotion, and expectation. Operating silently beneath awareness while shaping behavior, habits, and outcomes with relentless precision. It does not analyze logic or question intention. It records, accepts, and executes. Whatever is impressed upon it consistently becomes instruction. Whatever is delivered with emotion gains authority. Whatever is expected is prepared for. This unseen mechanism is always active, whether guided deliberately or left to chance. Every repeated thought is a command. Spoken or unspoken, it leaves an imprint. When the same idea is rehearsed daily, the subconscious accepts it as truth, regardless of accuracy. This is why careless inner dialogue produces consistent limitations and disciplined thinking produces consistent growth. The mind does not distinguish between what is desired and what is feared. It responds to focus. Attention is the signal that determines priority. Emotion is the amplifier. A thought spoken without feeling is weak. A thought charged with emotion penetrates deeply. Emotion signals importance. It tells the subconscious to act, to remember, to organize behavior around that message. This is why moments of intense emotion shape beliefs instantly, while neutral thoughts require repetition. Emotion accelerates programming. Expectation completes the process. What is expected becomes normal. The subconscious adjusts perception, behavior, and reaction to align with expectation. When success is expected, the mind looks for pathways. When failure is expected, the mind looks for exits. Expectation influences what is noticed, what is ignored, and what is acted upon. It quietly filters reality. Most people allow this process to run unattended. They repeat doubts, attach emotion to fear, and expect disappointment. The subconscious responds faithfully, creating patterns that confirm these instructions. Then they blame circumstance, environment, or luck, unaware that the source of their results is internal. Repetition builds habit. Habit builds identity. Identity dictates behavior. This chain operates automatically once established. Changing results requires interrupting repetition and replacing it with deliberate instruction. New thoughts must be repeated long enough to challenge the old program. At first, resistance appears. Old patterns push back. This resistance is evidence of change, not failure. Emotion must be directed. Strong emotion without direction creates chaos. Directed emotion creates momentum. When belief is paired with emotion, the subconscious mobilizes energy. Action becomes easier. Persistence becomes natural. What once required effort becomes instinct. This is how discipline is formed without force. Expectation shapes confidence. When the mind expects progress, setbacks are interpreted as temporary. When the mind expects failure, challenges become justification to stop. The difference is not ability but interpretation. Expectation controls meaning, and meaning controls response. Visualization strengthens expectation. When the mind repeatedly experiences success internally, it begins to accept it as familiar. Familiarity reduces resistance. Action aligns with the internal image. This is not imagination, it is preparation. The subconscious rehearses behavior long before performance occurs. Language also programs expectation. Words spoken internally carry weight. Statements repeated with conviction become beliefs. Beliefs dictate choices. Choices create results. The subconscious listens constantly, responding to tone and repetition rather than logic. Precision in inner language is essential. The subconscious cannot be commanded once and expected to obey. It responds to consistency. Inconsistency weakens instruction. Persistence strengthens it. Daily reinforcement is required until the new expectation overrides the old pattern. This is discipline of thought, not suppression. Fear operates through the same mechanism. Repeated fear with emotion creates avoidance. Repeated confidence with emotion creates action. The system is neutral. It serves whatever is fed into it. Mastery comes from understanding this neutrality and using it deliberately. As repetition continues, behavior changes quietly. Confidence appears without effort, focus increases, distractions lose influence. The mind begins to reject thoughts that conflict with the established expectation. This internal alignment is power. Control of the subconscious is control of direction. Those who understand this law shape their future deliberately. They choose what to repeat, what emotion to attach, and what to expect. The rest experience life as reaction. Mastery begins with awareness and continues through disciplined repetition until the mind aligns fully with intention. Fear is taught, confidence is trained, built through deliberate repetition, disciplined action, and conscious control of thought rather than inherited talent or luck. No one is born afraid of failure, rejection, or judgment. These fears are learned through experience, reinforced by repetition, and strengthened by attention. In the same way, confidence is not a gift reserved for a few. It is a skill developed through practice, choice, and consistency. Fear begins as information, not truth. A single negative experience creates an emotional imprint. When that imprint is revisited mentally, fear multiplies. The mind associates discomfort with danger and builds avoidance patterns. Over time, fear feels real, permanent, and logical, even when it is based on past conditions that no longer exist. This is how fear gains authority without merit. Confidence develops through exposure and action. Each time an individual acts despite uncertainty, the mind receives new evidence. The subconscious learns that discomfort does not equal danger. This lesson, repeated consistently, rewires response patterns. What once triggered hesitation begins to trigger readiness. Confidence emerges as familiarity replaces fear. The difference between those who advance and those who retreat is not the absence of fear, but the presence of training. The confident individual has trained the mind to respond to challenge with movement rather than withdrawal. Training replaces instinct. Discipline replaces impulse. Over time, courage becomes automatic. Fear thrives in imagination. It grows when future outcomes are exaggerated and consequences are magnified. The mind projects scenarios without evidence and reacts as if they are real. Confidence interrupts this process by focusing on action instead of outcome. Action grounds the mind in the present where fear has less influence. Language plays a critical role. Repeated statements of doubt reinforce fear. Repeated statements of capability reinforce confidence. The subconscious accepts repeated language as instruction. Words spoken internally become expectations. Expectations shape behavior. Changing internal dialogue changes direction. Confidence is strengthened through small victories. Each completed action, no matter how minor, reinforces belief. These wins accumulate. The mind begins to expect success because it has experienced progress. Expectation reduces resistance. Momentum builds natu. Rally. Fear weakens when challenged directly. Avoidance strengthens it. The mind interprets avoidance as confirmation of danger. Action contradicts that message. Each confrontation diminishes fear's influence. Over time, fear loses credibility. Environment reinforces training. Exposure to confident behavior, disciplined routines, and focused thinking accelerates growth. Conversely, environments that normalize doubt and hesitation reinforce fear. Control of environments supports mental conditioning. Confidence also requires patience. Training does not produce instant results. Early discomfort is part of conditioning. Consistency is essential. The mind must be shown repeatedly that effort leads to growth. Repetition hardens belief. Self-trust emerges as confidence deepens. The individual stops seeking validation and begins relying on internal standards. Decisions become firmer. Hesitation decreases. Confidence is no longer emotional, it is structural. Fear never fully disappears. It changes role. It becomes a signal rather than a barrier. The trained mind acknowledges fear without obeying it. This is mastery. Those who appear fearless have simply trained longer. They have repeated action, controlled thought, and reinforced belief until confidence became their default response. Fear did not leave. It lost authority. Training the mind is a daily discipline. Every thought, action, and reaction contributes to conditioning. Choose exposure over avoidance. Choose action over analysis. Over time, fear fades into background noise and confidence becomes the operating system that drives progress. Persistent thought backed by action becomes unstoppable force because the mind alone imagines, but the mind in motion reshapes reality. Thought gives direction, action gives weight, and persistence gives permanence. When these three align, resistance weakens and momentum takes over. This is the point where effort stops feeling like struggle and starts behaving like power. A single thought means nothing if it is not returned to daily. The mind must revisit an idea repeatedly for it to gain authority. Persistence is the act of refusing to release a thought until it becomes dominant. Each return strengthens it. Each repetition deepens belief. Over time, the thought stops being an option and becomes a directive. Action transforms thought into proof. Without action, thought remains theoretical. Action signals commitment. It tells the subconscious that the idea is not temporary. Even imperfect action reinforces belief more effectively than endless planning. Movement creates clarity. Action corrects direction. Momentum builds through execution, not contemplation. Most people think once and act rarely. The powerful think consistently and act repeatedly. They understand that force is not created by intensity alone, but by duration. A small action repeated daily becomes stronger than a massive effort applied briefly. Persistence compounds. Each step adds weight until the direct son becomes irreversible. Resistance is part of the process. The moment persistent thought meets action, obstacles appear. This is not opposition, it is confirmation that movement has begun. Resistance tests commitment. Those who stop interpret resistance as a warning. Those who continue interpret it as a signal to adapt. Adaptation preserves momentum. The mind grows stronger through consistency. When thought and action align repeatedly, confidence becomes structural. Doubt loses its influence. The individual stops questioning whether progress is possible and focuses on refining execution. Belief stabilizes through experience, not emotion. Action reinforces thought. Thought directs action. This feedback loop accelerates growth. Each completed action validates the thought, and each validation strengthens commitment. Over time, behavior aligns naturally with intention. Discipline becomes automatic. Persistence requires mental loyalty. Emotional highs and lows are irrelevant. The individual continues regardless of mood. This consistency distinguishes force from effort. Force continues when effort quits. This is why persistence outlasts talent and intensity. Time becomes an ally when persistence is applied. Results may not appear immediately, but momentum accumulates invisibly. When the breakthrough occurs, it appears sudden, though it is the result of sustained pressure applied consistently. Those who quit just before momentum peaks never experience this shift. Persistent thawg.
HT also filters opportunity.
The mind begins to notice resources, connections, and ideas aligned with its dominant focus. What once went unnoticed becomes obvious. Action follows recognition. Progress accelerates. Failure loses meaning under persistence. It becomes feedback. Each attempt refines strategy. Each adjustment strengthens direction. The individual stops interpreting setbacks as personal and starts using them as information. This detachment preserves momentum. Consistency builds identity. The person becomes someone who acts, adjusts, and continues. This identity reinforces behavior. Quitting no longer fits the self-image. Persistence becomes natural. When thought is abandoned, force dissipates. When action is inconsistent, momentum collapses. When both are sustained, force becomes unstoppable. The individual no longer relies on motivation or inspiration. Progress becomes mechanical. Those who achieve extraordinary outcomes do not possess secret knowledge. They apply persistent thought and relentless action in one direction for long enough that resistance yields. This law does not bend, it does not negotiate. It responds only to consistency. When the mind commits and the body moves repeatedly toward a chosen aim, the force created is greater than circumstance, opinion, or temporary defeat. Persistence turns intention into inevitability. Your environment does not shape you. Your dominant thoughts do, because circumstances only reflect what the mind repeatedly accepts, expects, and reinforces. Two people can live in the same place, face the same conditions, and experience completely different lives. The difference is not opportunity, but interpretation. The mind decides what is possible long before the world responds. Most people give their environment too much authority. They believe location, background, economy, or other people determine their limits. In reality, these are external influences, not internal commands. The mind chooses how to respond, what to focus on, and what meaning to assign. Meaning shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. Dominant thoughts operate continuously. They are not occasional ideas, but habitual patterns. What you think most often becomes your internal environment, and this environment governs action. If the mind repeatedly focuses on limitation, it reinforces inaction. If it focuses on growth, it demands movement. The external world follows the internal order. Environment can influence, but it cannot control. Influence becomes control only when accepted mentally. The moment you internalize an external condition as permanent truth, it gains power. When you reject it as temporary or irrelevant, its influence weakens. The mind decides what enters and what is dismissed. History proves that advancement often emerges from the most restrictive environments. This is not coincidence. Pressure forces the mind to adapt. Those who think creatively under constraint develop strength. Those who mentally submit to circumstance remain trapped. The difference is thought discipline. Dominant thoughts filter perception. The mind notices what aligns with expectation and ignores what contradicts it. Opportunity exists in every environment, but only the prepared mind recognizes it. Preparation is mental before it is practical. Repetition strengthens dominance. Thoughts repeated daily become beliefs. Beliefs become assumptions. Assumptions guide behavior automatically. This is why change requires mental repetition before external transformation occurs. The environment reacts slowly. The mind shifts instantly. Blame reinforces weakness. Responsibility reinforces power. The moment you attribute outcomes solely to environment, you surrender control. When you accept responsibility for thought, you reclaim direction. Control of thought is control of response. Fear-based thinking magnifies environmental threats. Growth-based thinking minimizes them. The same obstacle appears overwhelming to one and manageable to another. The difference lies in interpretation, not difficulty. Language reinforces dominance. Words spoken internally create expectations. Repeated language becomes instruction. Instruction shapes action. Precision in self-talk is essential. The mind also shapes environment through action. Dominant thoughts influence choices, and choices alter surroundings. Over time, the environment begins to mirror the internal state. This feedback loop continues until alignment is achieved. Change begins in turn. Ally. Attempting to change environment without changing thought leads to repetition of results. Changing thought initiates transformation regardless of location. Discipline of thought requires awareness. Interrupt negative patterns. Replace them deliberately. Repetition establishes dominance. Over time, the internal environment strengthens. Those who master thought remain stable in unstable conditions. Those who rely on environment remain vulnerable. Strength comes from internal consistency. The dominant thought determines direction. Control it, and circumstances lose power. Ignore it, and environment dictates outcome. Every great achievement is the result of controlled thinking over time, not sudden luck, not random opportunity, and not momentary inspiration. What appears to the world as overnight success is in truth the visible outcome of invisible discipline applied daily to thought. Before results took shape, the mind was trained to hold one direction, reject distraction, and persist without immediate reward. Achievement begins long before action is recognized. Controlled thinking means choosing what deserves attention and refusing everything else. The mind naturally drifts unless directed. Without control, thoughts scatter, energy leaks, and effort loses power. Those who achieve greatly are not free thinkers, they are disciplined thinkers. They do not allow every idea, fear, or opinion to occupy mental space. Focus is protected, not accidental. Time is the silent multiple. Ear. A single controlled thought has little effect, but repeated daily it gains authority. Over weeks and months, the thought becomes belief. Belief shapes decisions. Decisions create habits. Habits produce results. This chain operates regardless of awareness. Mastery comes from directing it intentionally. Uncontrolled thinking produces inconsistent behavior. One day of effort followed by days of doubt creates instability. Controlled thinking creates consistency. The individual returns to the same intention regardless of mood or circumstance. This reliability builds momentum. Momentum reduces resistance. Progress accelerates. The mind resists control at first. Old habits of thought demand attention. Doubt reappears. Distraction tempts. This resistance is natural. Control is strengthened through repetition. Each time focus is restored. Discipline grows. Over time, control becomes automatic. Emotion must be managed. Strong emotion can empower thought or sabotage it. Controlled thinkers use emotion as fuel, not direction. They do not act impulsively or retreat emotionally. They observe, decide, and move deliberately. Emotional stability preserves clarity. Environment tests control. External noise competes for attention. Those who achieve do not escape noise, they filter it. Information is evaluated, not absorbed. Opinions are considered, not obeyed. This selective attention maintains direction. Delayed results challenge thinking. Controlled minds anticipate delay. They understand, D, that growth occurs invisibly before it becomes measurable. Impatience weakens control. Patience strengthens it. Time rewards consistency. Controlled thinking also requires self-honesty. Weak strategies are adjusted. Mistakes are analyzed without emotional distortion. Learning replaces blame. This objectivity sharpens execution. Over time, identity shifts. The individual becomes someone who thinks before reacting, chooses before speaking, and acts before doubting. This identity sustains achievement. No great outcome bypasses this process. Those who appear naturally successful have simply practiced longer. Their thinking has been conditioned through years of repetition. Control of thought creates alignment. Action follows thought without conflict. Energy flows efficiently. Distraction loses influence. Achievement is not chased, it is constructed. Each day of controlled thinking lays another layer. The structure stands because the foundation was built deliberately. Success is not found. It is commanded by the disciplined mind. Strong starts line expended, and don't heading any ending sentence in 800 word. Success is not found. It is commanded by the disciplined mind because nothing meaningful in life responds to chance, wandering, or wishful thinking. Success does not hide somewhere waiting to be discovered. It does not appear because someone is hopeful, busy, or desperate. It appears when the mind issues clear orders and follows them with consistent action. Where discipline leads, results follow. An undisciplined mind searches. A disciplined mind directs. Searching implies uncertainty. Command implies authority. The difference between those who struggle and those who progress is not effort but control. Control of attention, control of emotion, control of decision. When the mind is disciplined, it does not wait for motivation or permission. It acts because action is aligned with purpose. Discipline begins with thought. Before habits change, thinking must be governed. Most people allow their thoughts to be shaped by mood, environment, or opinion. This creates inconsistency. One day focused, the next distracted. One day confident, the next doubtful. A disciplined mind remains steady regardless of conditions. It chooses direction and returns to it repeatedly. Commanding success requires clarity. Vague goals produce weak action. Clear intention produces precision. The disciplined mind defines what it wants and eliminates what does not serve that aim. Distractions lose power because they are recognized as interference. Focus becomes sharper through exclusion. Emotion is trained under discipline. The mind does not act on impulse or retreat under pressure. Discipline creates pause. In that pause, choice replaces reaction. This is where power is exercised. Those who command success do not allow temporary emotion to dictate permanent decisions. Action under discipline is consistent. It is not dependent on inspiration. Inspiration fades. Discipline endures. Small actions repeated daily outperform dramatic effort applied occasionally. This reliability builds momentum. Momentum compounds results. Failure is treated differently by the disciplined mind. It is not personalized or dramatized. It is analyzed and corrected. This objectivity preserves progress. Where others stop, the disciplined adjust and continue. Time responds to discipline. Results may delay, but discipline sustains effort. Patience is not passive, it is controlled persistence. Those who command success understand that delay strengthens structure. They do not rush outcomes, they reinforce process. Self-respect grows under discipline. Each kept commitment strengthens trust in oneself. This trust fuels confidence. Confidence reinforces action. This cycle builds authority. The disciplined mind also governs environment. It chooses associations, information, and routines deliberately. Influence is filtered. This preserves focus and protects momentum. Success responds to command because discipline removes contradiction. Thought, belief, and action align. Energy is not wasted. Direction is clear. Those who wait for success remain followers of circumstance. Those who discipline their mind become leaders of outcome. Command is exercised daily through controlled thinking and consistent execution. Success does not arrive accidentally. It responds to authority. Discipline is that authority. Now, the truth stands clear. Every force that shapes your life begins within your mind. Every result you admire, every dream you desire, every victory you seek, none of it arrives by accident. It responds to direction, to clarity, to discipline. You have been given the greatest tool, the ultimate command center, and the invisible power to shape your destiny. The question is no longer whether success exists or whether the world is fair. It is whether you will command your mind with unwavering focus, repeated action, and fearless belief. Refuse hesitation. Refuse distraction. Refuse doubt. Decide who you will become. Act relentlessly toward it, and watch as the world bends to the orders of your disciplined thought. Today, your mind is no longer passive. It is unstoppable. Today your life is no longer chance, it is commanded.